What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. You already know, Norris here, man. Hashtag INDICA. The mixtape's finally out. I hope everyone's enjoying the music on there, man. I got more music to come. Honestly, I've been thinking about trying to outdo what I did on hashtag INDICA, on Slay Station, and on the internet. All three of those mixtapes. I'm preparing an album for next year. I'm not gonna officially announce it in this video yet. I'm gonna work on some things for it, and then I'll officially announce it a little bit later, closer to the end of the year. Then I'll talk more about it. But there will be an album I'm currently working on releasing for next year, sometime next year, but I'll give you guys that information as we get closer to the end of the year. I want to try to outdo everything I did this year. Get ready for newer music to come soon, but I always want to improve with my music craft. I want to get better at every part of being a musician, a songwriter. When it comes to the beats, the songwriting, even my music videos, I want to try to get better at that too. Even performing, man, I still want to get that done. There's just a lot that has to be done in order for that to happen. So stay patient with me. Subscribe to the channel. I got extra content going on here, just like this album review. I'll give you that information once things get corrected on my end in terms of performing. Yeah, so today we're gonna do the new album by Blu Exile. Blu's one of my favorite rappers to ever do it, representing LA, California. We're gonna do a full album reaction to this album here. I'm gonna play out a few of the songs off of the album, give you guys an idea of how it sounds. It'll be easier for me to explain the album, and I'll give you guys a rating at the end of the video. I love the Ominous World. It's a new album by the big time duo out of California, LA. And yeah, man, I'm gonna play 4 tracks off of this one. This is all off of SoundCloud, by the way. So the first track I'll play, this one's called Gold, featuring Nana and Ahmad Anwar.
And I wear it every day and night. Everywhere I go, I got on go. When it's hot, it's hot. When it's cold.
This one's called Suge Knight.
Call my cousins, had them bugging off the stuff that I wrote. Don't let them say, yo, you know I work for that, bro.
This one's called Smack, featuring Fashawn.
My shit hit like a wave when you surf in the ocean, looking in front of babes. Feel the boat when it float. Feel the coast that I.
And this last track I'll play, this one's called a song called Precipitation.
Feel me? I think about the cycle a lot, especially when I'm in the midst of raindrops.
Alright, man, Blu Exile, love the Ominous World. This is a new album by the heavy hitting duo from LA, California. I think he's more famous in California than anything. That's probably why a lot of people may not heard of Blu before, or why he's not super famous, but he definitely has the skill level and the talent to be one of those super famous rappers that you see all the time in commercials, and you see their music videos, you see him collabing with all these other names. Blu is the type of rapper that likes to stay underground. He doesn't want to be a super famous rapper. He's more of an underground guy that wants to put out quality music and is more about the music rather than the fame and being in the limelight, having all this attention on him all the time. He's more of a low-key underground artist under a label that sells records pretty well. He carries himself as an indie rapper, doing his own thing instead of listening to a record label control everything he does with his music. So that's the biggest reason why he's not a super famous rapper. With Exile is a super famous producer out of California as well. These guys got crazy chemistry, man. Their chemistry together, Guru and DJ Premier. Blu's rap style matches Exile's producing style so well. I think they've made 3 albums together, including this one. With this album, bro, honestly, I got mixed feelings about this album. Normally, Blu is one of the better rappers in the game. Before even listening to the album, I'm expecting high level music, high quality music, because Blu is the type of rapper that puts his full attention and effort, maybe more than any rapper I've heard before, when it comes to his effort and how much attention to detail that he pays at a super high level. A lot of people don't get to witness that because of how underground he is. He's not a popular rapper, so not a lot of people know about this guy, but in terms of effort and how much he puts into his music. He always works on his music at a very high level and tries his ass off on every verse that he drops. He's that type of rapper, man. So before listening to anything that he releases, that's what I expect out of the music before even listening to it. This project here, what you would expect out of Blu Exile stylistically when you're listening to the album. It's got a lot of scratching going on, a lot of like sample chops, a lot of bebop style of like rapping. I just think that they went with like a lighter, softer touch when it came to like the sampling on this one. Lighter and softer than you're usually getting from Blu Exile. I feel like they would go on more of like a hard hitting style where like every beat is like super hard hitting and Blu is just going crazy with the bars. I feel like they're more on like the softer side on this one, where he's just like flowing through the beats and he's not like trying anything too crazy outside of what he normally does. You know what I mean? I feel like it's a little more of like a chilling, vibing out type of album. You're listening to Blu rap and he's saying a lot of things that's like right with life, more so than what's wrong with life. Gives you like a feel good feeling more so than you're listening to him break down a lot of issues going on around the world and you're just reminded by how evil the world can be. It's like the opposite of that, which isn't the worst thing, but it's just not what you're like used to hearing from Blu in a bad way, just because you prefer Blu to be rapping on those hard hitting beats, softer, poetic, cruise along the beat type of flows where like it's more about the vibe more so than Blu trying to like teach you something with his lines and really make you think about what he's saying on the beats. Blu and Exile with the beats and with the raps. With the scratching, the style of sampling, how the beats are constructed, how Blu's rapping on the beats, it gives off like a bebop, like a 2000s era type of sound throughout the album. They went with like an old school style. Blu, that's what he's best at, and that's the era he's from. So it's almost like he's not changing anything in terms of how he raps and how he beat selects and how he flows on every beat. It's almost the same way as when he started from the beginning. He started his career like late 90s, early 2000s. That's when he was like really on fire and people were really talking about him. That's like the time when I discovered him too, around like 2004, 2003. He's basically taken that version of Blu and put it on this album with some new techniques used so it doesn't sound super old. It has like an old sounding feel to it when you're listening to the album. A lot of scratching, a lot of song sampling in a way where they're like sampling the type of songs that older producers used to sample, so it gives off like an older feeling. But I mean, that's Exile's type of sampling, the way he chops his samples up and makes his beats. He uses a lot of like soul music and a lot of like Motown, a lot of jazz style songs to sample and put his beats together. So just like Blu, Exile doesn't really change anything in terms of like what you're used to hearing from him. He's basically the same Exile and Blu's the same Blu from way back in the day. They basically took what they're used to doing and did exactly the same thing on this album, trying to make it slightly different so it doesn't sound exactly like previous projects they've done together. It's great music, but there's not a lot of like refreshing moments throughout the music. You're hearing a lot of techniques and styles that you've heard in the past, like way back in the day, like I say, the 2000 era, with the scratching, the style of sampling, and even the way Blu's rapping. He's rapping with like a bebop type of flow most throughout the album. You know what I mean? Sounding like a Tribe Called Quest a little bit, like Q-Tip, the way he's rapping, meshing that with like the street life in LA, talking a lot about like the gang life and, you know, growing up in LA. Not the worst thing ever, because I don't mind listening to albums where they're using more of like an old school sound to it. They got more scratching going on. I can definitely listen to that. But I mean, it makes the reason why Blu is not famous. He doesn't use a lot of the new techniques and the new styles that's used in rap music. He sticks to what he's good at, which makes his music sound older, but like that's Blu. You know what I mean? And that's what he grew up on. That's the original style that made him famous in the first place, right? Honestly, with this album, I think the main standouts is the production, because Exile, one of the greatest producers to ever do it, definitely did his thing on this album. And I mean, that's what I expected. I expected the beats to be at a very high level. I also expected Blu's raps to be at a higher level, but I've definitely heard Blu rap a lot better on other projects compared to this one. I think the standout is the beats, and I think the standout for the vocals is Blu's wordplay. He uses the wordplay in a way where like he's trying to give you different combinations all throughout the album. Combinations that you've never really heard from Blu before. What he's actually saying isn't anything different from what I've heard from him before, and a lot of the lines are basically to do with LA street life, LA gang life, talking about like the Crips and all that. The only thing that stands out really is the production style. It's Exile. I think he's one of the greatest producers to ever do it. I'm not surprised that the beats are as nice as they are. And in terms of the vocals, I think Blu's wordplay is the biggest standout out of anything to do with this album. His wordplay has always been very like different, you know what I mean? In terms of rapping, like general rapping, you can compare his vocals to a lot of other rappers in the past, even in today's game. But when it comes to wordplay, he's very unique with it when it comes to how he like flips rhymes together, his schemes when he's rapping. When you listen to him rap, it's very unexpected. The way he word plays and the way he positions his lines, that's a big part about music in general, not just rap music. When you listen to a song and they give you something that you're just not expecting, just out of nowhere, it gives you like a new experience when you're listening to that song, an experience that you didn't get from any other song in the past, even though you've probably heard thousands of songs in your life before. That's what Blu does really, really well on this album compared to anything else. I think the features on the album do the same thing. They're coming up with rhyme schemes that you don't really hear usually from other rap songs before, or even heard from those specific rappers on other songs. The wordplay is very different on this album compared to projects Blu and Exile done before in the past, which I heavily respect out of this album. The biggest standout in terms of vocals, the only reason why I'm bringing that up is because I think everything else about the vocals wasn't the best. I've heard Blu rap a lot better on other projects before. That's my only thing about it in terms of like how strong every bar and line is on this album. It's not the best in my opinion. I've heard Blu rap way better than this. The wordplay is like what stands out for me, more so than the strength of every line that he's dropping on here. I think they were both going for more of like an experimental style album in terms of like the techniques that they're using in the music. The things that he's actually saying in his lyrics, like the actual words you're listening to him rap, that part is pretty like recognizable and more like, okay, yeah, that's what Blu usually does, you know what I mean? And on this album, that's what he does, but it's the wordplay and the style of the flow that he switches up, which is a highlight from the album. But I think with that style and with that experimentation, with the actual like punchlines and the metaphors, similes, it comes across as a little bit boring because he doesn't try anything different outside of what he normally talks about. The experimentation is more into the wordplay and how he structures the lines that he has on his album. So in terms of a rating, I'm gonna give this one an 8 out of 10. I think the experimentation and the fresh ideas that they bring to the table on this album are definitely the standouts, and the reason why I'm keeping it at an 8. And also Blu, he's still like a really good lyricist. Even with his worst work, it's still at like a high level. It's still like quality rap music, even when he's not doing his best. I think he's top 5 best rappers out of the West Coast. I'll definitely give him that. And he's like maybe top 20 greatest rappers of all time. And I think Exile did his thing on this one. One of the greatest producers I've ever heard in my entire life. I feel like he really showcases that on this album. 8 out of 10 for this album. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this reaction. Blu and Exile. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like, comment. Got plenty more content. Check out #Indica. It's a new mixtape that I dropped a couple of days ago. Out on all platforms. Everywhere where I post my music. Go ahead and check that out. The next time I'll be dropping a song December 4th. This one's called Waldo. Stay tuned for that. I really appreciate you guys watching. And that's all I got for this one. I'm out. Peace.